I was bored of my husband and obsessed with younger men, so I cheated with my daughter's boyfriend. When they found out, they left me in the absolute depths of misery. My name's Elena, and I never thought I would write something like this, but here I'm, disarmed and without excuses. I'm not looking for comfort. I do not think I deserve it either. I just need to tell what happened with all the details that still haunt me when I close my eyes. I cheated on my husband with my daughter's boyfriend. They found me out. They left me ruined. And it all started with small things, with gestures that anyone would have called innocent. Terrible things almost always start with small things. Daniel, my husband, is methodical, quiet, the type of man who does not make promises, he delivers. We met in a night accounting course 20 years ago. I had a borrowed sense of security back then. I leaned more on his calmness than on my own 2 feet. If you ask me when it stopped being enough, I would not know how to answer. Maybe it never was. Maybe I was the hole that swallowed everything. Valeria is our daughter. 21 years old. Stubborn, brilliant, quick to detect everything, especially my mood swings. As a child, she would hang on my neck and tell me I was her home. As a teenager, she started looking at me as if she expected me to fail her. I did not understand that look until it was too late. I met Matthias one Saturday at noon, when Valeria brought him home for the first time. He was the new boyfriend, a 23-year-old boy with a frank smile, eager hands, and that air of someone who still believes the world owes him something. He brought a supermarket dessert that he left on the table with an "I'm sorry, I do not know how to cook," which sounded charming to me. Daniel was cutting vegetables. I had my hair up and an apron with sauce stains. The perfect family scene. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Elena," he said. "Vale has told me a lot about you." I let out a short laugh. "Call me Elena, please. Mrs. makes me feel old." "Then Elena," he repeated, and his gaze held for a second too long. That second was the first stone of the collapse. Normal weeks went by. On Sundays, there were pancakes and people laughing at the table. Matthias started staying for dinner frequently. He helped clear the plates. He asked about my work at the agency. He asked me for advice, because you have experience, Elena. Daniel tolerated him with that distant politeness that, I see now, was a warning. My husband did not like people who got comfortable quickly in places that were not theirs. One night after dinner, Valeria and Matthias were in the living room watching a movie. I passed by with a bowl of popcorn. Matthias thanked me. His fingers brushed against my knuckles when he took the bowl. A minimal touch, a microscopic spark that ran up my arm as if I had been connected to a current. It bothered me to feel it. It bothered me that I liked feeling it, and I kept it like someone who keeps a lit match in their pocket. The conversations with Matthias at first were about recipes, series, music. He had that way of listening that those who have not yet been knocked out by life possess. One afternoon, Valeria asked me to lend her my car to go to the university. Matthias stayed talking in the kitchen while I put away the dishes. "You have a way of cutting onions," he said, as if he had been doing it his whole life. "My mom always cries, you do not." I laughed. "Old trick." I breathed through my mouth. "I think it is because you are not afraid of anything." I stopped. I did not know what to answer. Inside, I saw myself as someone who was afraid of many things, starting with the years to come. "Do not talk so much, Matthias," I said. "My rice will burn if you distract me." He smiled and got off the counter. He was about to leave when he turned back. "Can I add you to the WhatsApp group, the one for Vale's birthday surprise?" To coordinate. That is how he got my number. That is how he started writing to me privately, just to confirm the cake. That is how the messages became longer, more nocturnal, more dangerous. Daniel went to sleep early. I stayed with my phone on, just below the tablecloth of daily life. "You always wanted to work in advertising," he asked me at 11:21 night. I wanted to write. Advertising was the closest thing to getting paid for it. "I like how you write your emails. Even the scolding ones sound elegant." I told him to go to sleep. He did not go to sleep. Neither did I. I'm not going to embellish it. There was flirting. Conscious, deliberate. Sometimes it was a line thrown into the air. "That blue blouse looks incredible on you." Other times, a silly confession of mine. "Today I stayed in the car for 40 minutes before coming home, so I would not have to think." Neither of us stopped. I cannot blame only him. I fed the fire every day. The line was crossed one rainy afternoon. Valeria wrote to me that she would stay at the library with a group, and Matthias said he had been let out of work early. I can stop by to drop off that HDMI cable I promised Daniel, he wrote. I told him to come over. Daniel was on a site visit. I was home alone. When he came in, he shook the water from his hair and smiled at me as if we were revealing a secret. I offered him a towel. I went to the bathroom for one. When I returned, he was still by the door. He had not taken a single step. You should change that shirt, I said. You are going to catch a cold. Can I borrow one of Daniel's? It will be huge on you. I do not care. I went to the bedroom to get an old shirt of Daniel's. When I came back, Matthias was not in the entryway, but in the kitchen, looking at the plants in my window as if it were a museum. I handed him the shirt. As he put it on with clumsy movements, he told me about a project, a dream, the band he had with some friends. I did not hear anything. I was looking at him, and the certainty that we were crossing a point of no return made me sick. You should not, I managed to say. I know. He was the one who approached first. It was an insecure kiss, almost adolescent, with a tremor that reminded me of another life. And it was I who held the kiss when he was about to pull away. It was I who closed the door. It was I who shook my head twice when we asked ourselves if we were really going to do that. I will not share intimate details. 2 honest sentences are enough. I knew I was breaking my daughter's heart, and still I continued. I knew that if Daniel saw us, he would never speak to me again, and still I continued. Afterwards, Matthias left with Daniel's shirt in a bag. I washed the glasses, wiped the counter, changed the sheets as if I were making the tracks invisible. My hands were shaking. The noise in the washing machine was so loud I thought the whole building would hear it. Are you okay? Matthias wrote later. I replied no. Me neither. That night I stared at the ceiling and listened to Daniel breathe. I felt his warm back and thought that he did not deserve to sleep so peacefully. I did not dare to touch him. I could say it was an isolated slip. It was not. There were coffees in passing places, messages we opened in silence at lunchtime. A couple more encounters in a nameless motel on the highway. One of those where everyone pretends not to see anyone. The first time he paid, the second time I did. And here comes the stupid act that finished sinking me. I used my corporate card. An oversight. I was dealing with 1,000 things from work. I had paid per diems that morning and swiped the wrong card without looking. I realized it in the parking lot when it was already too late and Matthias was telling me he would write when he got home. I wanted to run back to the reception, ask them to cancel the charge, explain the unexplainable. I did not do it. I will fix that charge later. I can justify it as a meeting with a client, I told myself. That small self-deception cost me the world. Valeria began to suspect. Daughters who know a smell changes like animals smell a storm. She asked me why I smiled at my phone, why I had ordered a new cream I never used, why I wore that blue blouse on Tuesdays. I pretended to be distracted. One afternoon she hugged me from behind in the kitchen and said, "I love you, Mom." Are you happy? Yes, I lied. The fall was surgical, as if someone had designed each step to hurt just enough and leave a mark. Now I know that someone was my own daughter. It all started with a message. I had left the iPad in the living room. I shared the account with my phone, a mistake only made by someone who thinks they are safe. A WhatsApp ping sounded. Valeria was watching a class on her laptop and turned her head. See you at 312. I will order. It was your turn to pay last time. Signed by Matthias. No emoticons, not even the care of an alias. Valeria called me. Mom, what happened? Your iPad is getting messages that I do not think are for me. I ran. What I saw was exact. Our conversations open like a wound with dates, times, jokes, ways of calling each other that embarrassed me to read on a big screen. She did not scream. She did not ask questions. She looked at me for a long time, adjusted the iPad, locked it, and stood up. I will wait for you in the living room, she said. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to breathe. I did not know what to rehearse. When I went down, I found her with a notebook and a pen, like someone about to take notes in a meeting. How long? She asked. A few weeks. How often? Not many. Did you use protection? Valeria. Answer. Yes. She nodded. She turned the page of the notebook. Does Daniel know? No. You are going to tell him. Yes. Today. Yes. She gave another nod. There, without raising her voice, without allowing me to justify myself, Valeria dictated the course of what was to come. She told me she would never see Matthias again, that she would block me from everything, but that night the four of us would have dinner. I want this to end at the table where it began, she said. She looked up, and for the first time since she was born, I saw her as older than me. That afternoon, I went to pick up Daniel from his work. I do not usually do it, but I did not dare to tell him at home. I sat in his car parked in front of the building. The keys silent, my hands sweaty. I have to tell you something, I began. He looked at me and waited. Daniel always waited. It was his way of loving. I told him everything, I named him. I did not spare any words. I did not blame myself alone, nor did I distribute the responsibility equally. I just told the facts. Daniel remained still, looking at the steering wheel. For a moment I thought he had not heard. Then he took a deep breath and said, "How many times?" The question pierced me with its accounting. I answered. He asked if I was in love. I said I did not know. He asked if I was pregnant. I said no. He asked if I planned to continue. I said no. He looked at me as if I were a report he did not like, but that he had to close. "Let's go to dinner," he said, "and then we will talk." I could not swallow anything that night. Valeria had set the table with a cruel meticulousness, folded napkins, aligned glasses, a vase with daisies. Matthias arrived with his hands in his pockets. He glanced at me. He knew that nothing was ours anymore. "Sit down," Valeria said. "I have something to show you." She took out the iPad, connected it to the television. The messages appeared one by one, with dates, with places, with the charge from the motel, Hotel Vista, and the line that said card asterisk, asterisk asterisk 9103, which I recognized as the corporate one. Matthias put a hand to his forehead and said in a whisper, "God." Valeria opened a folder with photos, screenshots, short audios. I did not know that cell phones saved so many things. Daniel's silence was a cold metal in the room. I tried to speak. Valeria made a gesture with her palm. "Do not say anything." When the images finished, she turned off the television and the iPad. She looked at Matthias. "You are leaving," she told him. "I do not want to see you again. It is going to be very simple. You give me back my things, delete my photos, and change your number. I do not want drama, I do not want apologies. I will make them up myself." Matthias wanted to say, "I'm sorry." She did not let him. "And do not look for me through friends. If you do, I will show this from the card to your boss. You have an internship contract." "No, check the code of conduct." "I already did." The boy nodded, disarmed, with reddened eyes. He stood up, looked at Daniel as if searching for an adult to save him from the scene. "Sir, You are leaving," Daniel repeated without raising his voice. I saw him leave. I saw him be for the first time, his exact age, not a man nor a boy, something in between. I was left murmuring an apology that had nowhere to lean on. Valeria cleared the plates calmly. Daniel took the vase to the sink. No one cried. I would have preferred screams. Screams would have been a rope. Silence was a trap. That night I slept in the guest room. Daniel stayed in ours. Before closing my door, he said, "Tomorrow we will talk about the house." The house, I repeated as if the word had sharp edges. At 8 in the morning, I received an email from Human Resources. "Please report today at 10 for an expense clarification." They had seen the motel charge. Someone from accounting. Ironically, I had been in accounting before advertising. It had gone through my cost center. I wanted to explain it as a meeting with a client. I could not anymore. There were receipts, times, location, GPS. That clumsiness of mine triggered a system bigger than my shame. I went to the office. I sat in front of the finance director, the company lawyer, and an analyst who typed everything. They offered me water. I gave it to my hands. "Elena," said the lawyer, "we have an unjustified charge in the name of Hotel Vista. We want to understand." I pressed my lips together. I was not going to invent a client. I knew that could make it worse. It was a mistake, I said. I used the wrong card for a personal matter. What personal matter? I would rather not. We need the information. It is company money. I did not elaborate. I said something vague. The lawyer sighed. I anticipate that this violates the code of ethics. The charge will be deducted and we will open a disciplinary process. For now, you are suspended. I left with a letter and an empty feeling in my stomach. In the parking lot, I got another email, this time from Daniel. My lawyer will call you. We will review the postnuptial agreement. Postnuptial. A word that then regained its gravity. 5 years ago, after a financial stumble from which Daniel saved us with monastic discipline, we signed a postnuptial agreement with clear clauses. If either of us committed infidelity, they would renounce certain rights to the house and a part of the joint savings. I had signed, convinced that I was protecting our stability. That document would now fall on me like a wall. That afternoon, Valeria arrived with a suitcase and an envelope. I'm going to Aunt Laura's, she said. I need some air. I will go with you. No. She put the envelope on the table. This is yours. I do not want it. It was a pendant I had once given her with her name on it. She left it on the side and left. There was no hug. There was no "we will talk later." Just the door closing with the care of someone who learns not to make noise with their goodbyes. Matthias tried to call me several times. I did not answer. He wrote me, "I'm sorry," about 12 times in one day. I told him not to talk again. I blocked him. He wrote from another number. I blocked that one too. Then, Valeria fulfilled her threat. The following Monday, the company where Matthias was doing his internship received an email with screenshots of the motel charge on my company's card with the date and time. The compliance area summoned him. They had an internal rule about conflicts of interest and conduct. Obviously, they could not fire him for sleeping with his girlfriend's mother, but they could fire him for being involved in a problem with the misuse of a third party's resources, especially if there was evidence that could affect the reputation of the company where he was learning. In 2 days, they fired him. He sent me a desperate message from a friend's account telling me. I deleted it without responding. My lawyer, because I had to find one in a hurry, quickly, told me what I already knew. The postnuptial was solid. The house would remain in Daniel's hands. I could aspire to a minimal settlement amount for the assets, which would also be reduced if he proved the infidelity, which was already proven, and the dissipation of assets from my card charge. An expression I did not know and learned through documents. In sessions that felt like medical consultations, they explained numbers to me. I nodded, chewing on the idea of packing my life into boxes. A few days later, I received the formal dismissal letter. Cause, violation of the code of ethics for misuse of a corporate card. I stared at the email for a long time. I did not cry. I sat down with a piece of paper and started adding things up. I had savings, yes, but there was no more house, no more job, and soon there would be lawyer's fees. My mother called me. I barely answered. "What have you done, Elena?" she asked without a greeting. The worst. Valeria called me. She is with me. She does not want to talk to you. I know. And now I'm packing my things. Come in the afternoon. I will not be there. It will be better. I understood the message beneath her words. She did not want to see me. I hung up. I packed a couple of suitcases. Daniel was not there. I took what fit. 2 changes of clothes, a pair of shoes, my grandmother's recipe book, a mug that said, "Today, yes." I touched the wall of the room one last time. I left. I rented a room by the week in an anonymously gray building. I started sending out resumes. Advertising and communications professional with 10 years of experience. Every sentence sounded hollow. Meanwhile, documents from Daniel's lawyer arrived with a correct tone that I found more humiliating than if they had shouted at me. We request an inventory of assets. We attach a co-ownership agreement, settlement proposal. Valeria did not write to me, but I found out through a neighbor, through a friend, through the cruel chance of social media that she had posted a picture of a box on her story with the title, "Cleaning," and a trash can emoji. Inside, Daniel's shirt that Matthias had kept, the pendant with her name, and some letters I wrote to Valeria when she was a child. I saw it for a second before she blocked me for good. I felt panic, but I no longer had the right to ask for restraint. In the third week, the bills started coming. The credit card company demanded payment. I convinced myself to sell my anniversary ring. I called someone who bought gold. I did not haggle. I was left with the receipt and empty fingers. These are gestures that seem minor until you do them. Taking a ring off your finger is like amputating a memory. Matthias looked for me one last time. He showed up at the coffee shop where I was filling out job applications. "I need to talk," he said with an urgency that no longer moved me. "There is nothing to say. They fired me. Vale will hate me forever. My friends already know. I cannot stop seeing the iPad screenshots in my head. I'm a wreck. We cannot fix it." He sat across from me without permission. He looked at me with something that was no longer desire or even sadness. It was resentment. "You sought me out," he said. "No, we sought each other out. I lost everything." "Me too. But you have already lived," he spat. "I was just starting." I stared at him. I saw a young man whom I had dragged into my shipwreck. He was not a victim. He was not the only one to blame. He was, like me, someone who made a bad decision and wanted to sustain it with worse ones. His sentence made me angry. His youth made me angry. "Go away, Matthias." He left, slamming the door, which made the barista look at us with a mixture of curiosity and annoyance. That was the last time I saw him up close. Then came the phase where everything becomes administrative. Signing, stamping, resigning, dividing. Daniel and I sat across from our lawyers like two patients in front of two surgeons. They talked about percentages, timelines, taxes. No one mentioned the word love. No one had to. Daniel did not insult me. He did not even speak to me with sarcasm. He gave me one single sentence that I will always remember. "I took care of you in every way I knew how. I could not with this one, and I'm not going to try anymore." I nodded. I signed. I took my boxes. I moved to a small studio apartment overlooking a parking lot. We left the days of the week as if they were belongings. Monday through Thursday, Valeria could visit Daniel at his house. On Fridays, I did not even want to go out. I did not see her. I found out from my sister Laura that Valeria had gone back to her life with her friends, that she had cut her hair, that she had changed her number. "She is strong," Laura said. I was happy for her, like one is happy for someone they have lost. My employment agency told me the obvious with the cause for my dismissal. I needed to explain my reputational gap. They offered me small, project-based jobs with no benefits. I took one, then another. It was not enough. I started falling behind on the rent for the room. I sold my car. I bought a bus pass. One afternoon, walking home with a grocery bag, I saw a message in my mailbox. Pending delivery of a notice of a lawsuit for damages. Matthias or his family had decided to sue me for defamation. They said that the email to his company had contained statements that harmed him professionally. I did not send that email, but it was so easy to draw the line. Valeria sent it because of the pain I caused. And even if it was not my signature, it was my shadow. My lawyer called me the next day. "Do not worry, it probably will not succeed, but we have to respond. Fees, more paper, more stamps, more hours that are billed to say that one is falling." I do not know at what exact moment I could say I hit bottom. It was not a scream or an epic night. It was opening my closet and seeing that all my shirts had loose threads, that my shoes needed new soles, that my mirror was stained with a dust that looked like grease. And it was, above all, having to write an email to the owner of the studio apartment and ask her for one more week to pay. She replied with "I'm sorry, I cannot." I called Laura. She did not answer. I called my mother. She told me she was busy. I sat on the floor and finally cried. If anyone expects an epiphany here, there was none. No one came to rescue me. No miracle. What there was one last move from Valeria and Daniel, calculated, harsh, and, I have to admit, fair in its own way. I found out from a text message from an unknown number. "Elena, this is Nora, Daniel's lawyer. The transfer of the house title becomes effective tomorrow. Please leave the keys and gym cards at the reception." I also inform you that Valeria decided to file an internal complaint at your former company for the manipulation of resources. You have already been fired, but they are going to proceed to report you to a registry of suppliers and talent to prevent your rehiring for a while. It is her right. You are notified. That registry exists. It is not an official blacklist, but it is a circle where companies consult references. In simple terms, for a good while it was going to be toxic to put my name on a hiring process. I tried to talk to Valeria. I could not. I tried to talk to Daniel. He responded with a sentence that sounded like an epitaph. I'm not charging you, I'm closing. I spent the night staring at the ceiling. I remembered Matthias with Daniel's shirt, Valeria with the pen in her hand. My life before all this, when my biggest worry was whether Daniel would bring home whole wheat or white bread. I wanted to go back months. You cannot. The next morning, I returned the keys. I left a note that said, "Thank you." I left with my suitcase and a resume that already seemed foreign to me. I sat on a bench in the park across the street and thought about looking for cheaper rooms, maybe sharing with someone, maybe going to my mother's house and enduring her silences like one endures a storm. While I was deciding, I received a new email from an unknown sender, subject, opportunity. In the body, a proposal for a commission-based job, telephone sales, one of those that promise more than they deliver. I smiled wearily. I opened the file. I wrote, "I'm available." I found out later through third parties that Matthias had to go back to the room he rented with two friends. They had kicked him out when he started falling behind on rent, especially after losing his internship. He slept for a few weeks on the couch at a bandmate's house. Then I saw him in a photo on social media at a bar, playing on a Tuesday for an audience of 4 people and a sleeping dog. I never knew if he found another job. What I do know is that Valeria continued to not answer him and that his every public attempt to apologize sank among comments that did not forgive him. I'm not going to say I was repentant as if repentance in itself were reparation. It is not. What I will say is that I began to understand that everything I had gutted is not fixed with flowers, or with letters, or with the illusion of an honest talk. There are damages that are bills paid with time and solitude, and sometimes not even then. That afternoon, after sending 3 more resumes, my sister Laura called me. "Come by my house tomorrow at 9, she said. "I will give you 2 boxes with your things that I had." "Okay, do not stay, just come by and leave." "Thank you," I said. "Do not thank me." She hung up. I slept little. I dreamed of corks, of sticky notes, of a set table and a television on. I woke up with my heart in my throat and let the shower run on the back of my neck until my fingers wrinkled. At 8:40, I was in front of Laura's door. She opened it without looking at me. The boxes were there. On top was the pendant with Valeria's name. I took it. I put it in my jacket pocket. "How is she?" I dared to ask. "Building," she said. "And you destroying. Do not come in." I nodded. I went down. I crossed the street. When I reached the corner, I felt my phone vibrate. An unknown number. I answered. It was a man's voice. "Elena, this is Rodrigo. I worked with you at the agency years ago. I heard what happened. I'm not calling about that. A client needs someone to write pieces for her e-commerce. It is freelance. We pay per piece. I do not ask for recommendation letters. Are you interested?" I said yes before thinking. It was not salvation, it was a life preserver. I took it. That night, I wrote 5 product descriptions for dollars each. It is not glamorous. It does not fill voids. But I kept my head above water for a few hours. I sent the file. Rodrigo replied with a good, without adjectives. I asked for more work. He said he would see. And here I'm, between emails and temporary rooms, between boxes and Zoom meetings, where I turn off the camera so they do not see the frayed curtain in the background. Matthias, from what I'm told, moved further away to a cheaper neighborhood. Daniel continued with his life, like someone who straightens a crooked picture and does not touch the wall again. Valeria changed her profile picture to one of her at the beach with short hair and an unwrinkled brow. I like that picture. It does not belong to me. I do not know what you expect me to say at the end of this block. I do not promise to behave well or to get everything back with willpower. The only thing I can tell with precision is how one bad decision sustained by successive cowardice built a clean collapse. This is the inventory. I lost the house. I lost the job. I lost my daughter. I lost my self-respect. Matthias lost his internship. His band hung on from Tuesday to Tuesday. His friends look at him sideways. Daniel lost his wife, but he was left with the tranquility of his house without noises he does not recognize. There is no moral, there are bills. If it is of any use, I leave this story as one leaves a dangerous object on a table to warn whoever passes by with a distracted hand. I passed my hand.